Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 85 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is David Howe.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
And we have a very special guest for you on this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Returning to the podcast, Amanda Kate Bird, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Amanda.
Back for more.
Yeah.
Yes. One of our favorite guests. We're glad to have you back. We are going to be talking on this episode today all about fishing in video games. You heard that right, folks. We're not talking about fishing video games. We're talking about video games that have fishing in them. So that could be any number of things. We'll be getting into it. It's going to be a fun episode. Can't wait for you guys to hear it. We've also got tons of news. A Nintendo game was leaked, announced, and released since we talked to you guys last. We've got new Animal Crossing updates. We got a new Mario game that I've been playing like a motherfucker. It's off the chains as far as news is related, and I can't wait for you guys to listen to it. Other than that, how's everybody doing? How have your past couple weeks been?
Pretty good. It's good to be back. Season 3.
Season 3 premiere. That's right.
Super excited to be on the season premiere.
Everyone's going to be listening to the end of this episode to see if they can find a bit that will continue for 80 episodes. But
no pressure.
I don't know. Yeah,
No
right. We'll come up with that during the course of the show. Patrick, how are you doing, man?
I'm all right. I'm doing okay.
Very good. Yeah. It's a crazy world on top of everything. I feel like the world has changed completely since we talked last. Fucking
all the White House news. And
yeah. COVID's out here trying to catch Republicans, it's trying to fill up a Pokedex or something.
It's about time.
And it's a wacky world out there. So continue to stay safe, everybody, while we're out here. If anything, it just shows that we're not out of the woods, not for a long time. So,
No.
Amanda, any comments?
Inside scoop, I'm a nurse. So it's just been a living nightmare day after day.
Yeah.
And just finally someone you want to get it has gotten it. It's just been a really good week for me.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I imagine it's a nightmare to be a nurse, but
I'm sorry to hear that. Although I'm also glad to hear that coming from a nurse because I feel like it validates my opinions on the matter as well.
And I saw footage of him going back home to the White House, and I'm like, oh, he looks like shit. Like it's not
like you've
good.
seen it. You know what it looks like.
I'm like, oh, that's what they look like.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. But anyway, we should probably move away from that and get into some Nintendo news. But before that, we have some shout outs, right, Patrick?
Oh, yeah. So we did our big season finale with Disney Tsum Tsum Festival. And just a few people I wanted to mention. Mr. Coconutty on Twitter, we love you. Thanks for commenting. You said what a wild ride that was and asked how long we'd been doing it. And I said it was episode 45 where we started apologizing to Chris McKeever. So about 40 episodes worth. And Mr. Coconutty, like us as well, is a fan of Chris McKeever. What a fun guest.
Yeah, that was fun.
And it sparked some discussion on our Discord too. In particular, mentioned Robert Segovia, DCD, our friend Dan, and Cena all made some nice comments on that. And we put out our first scripted episode, I guess. I don't know. How do you guys quantify, or what's the terminology you want to use for that?
That sounds good. Scripted. Special, pre-planned, not us four talking heads.
I've been calling it the Radiolab style episode. We had that one put out.
Yeah, on Captain in the Game Master, and we got some nice feedback from our friends Summer and Kyle on the Discord, as well as our new friend who joined us on Discord, Andrew Musil. You may remember us shouting them out previously. If you too want to join our Discord, you should, and get in on this action. And
one last shout out to Brandon McKay, who gave me some really nice comments on my movie announcer voice.
I didn't see that.
That went straight to my head, Brandon. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and if you're listening right now and you're like, man, these guys should do more of these scripted Radiolab style episodes, maybe let us know of an idea. That kind of came up organically through us meeting before and after the podcast. So it was really fun. And shout out to David for doing all of the really cool edits.
Yeah. It takes longer to edit, but it's a lot more fun to edit. So I'm down to do more of them. Yeah.
Cool. So we'd love to hear from you if you have any comments on anything we talk about, and we'd love it if you share our podcast or leave us a review and all that kind of stuff. And we got a lot of news, so we'll talk about it. Like David said, there was a game that was leaked, announced, and released. That was Kirby Fighters 2. They accidentally posted this game up online, and this is Nintendo, and then pulled it down, and then the next day put it back up. And there you go. It's like a $20 fighting game, brawler type game.
It's like a Smash-like.
Smash-like.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It doesn't. The original Kirby Fighters was like a 3DS game, right?
Yeah, it was. Well, originally it was part of, and I'm not exactly sure which game. It might have been Robobot, but there was like a mini game in one of the 3DS Kirby games that was basically this fighters mode. And then they spun it off into its own 3DS game a while ago. And then I guess this is the sequel to that.
I never played the first one except at Target, because it was the game on the 3DS at Target all the time, like while the 3DS was still a display item there. So I would
remember when you could just stick your hands all over game consoles at retail stores.
Remember touching things?
Do you remember Human Contact?
No.
And then of note to this game, there have been some data miners, not our friend Oatmeal Dome, though. They're not our friend actually, but the person that we follow, some other data miners. So I think it's suspect if it's not Oatmeal Dome, that say there's some stuff in the code that points to some other Kirby games. Like there's a lot of like prototypes and like and in particular some code that suggests a 3D Kirby game maybe in development along with this or something. So I don't know, maybe that's something to look forward to possibly.
Yeah, I'd love a 3D Kirby. Like a 3D Kirby platformer would be super lit. Have we had one of those other than like Kirby's Air Ride, I guess?
I was going to say, maybe there's one 3D Kirby game, but I don't even know that there was.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Like the 64 game was kind of 3D, right?
I mean, but that's
not really though.
That's as 3D as like Kirby All Stars or Kirby Star Allies. What's that game called? The one that came out a couple years ago. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like still 2D, but it's got like 3D backgrounds. So
yeah,
I want to see something like I want to see the Mario 64 of Kirby games. Yeah,
the only Kirby I ever had was on the Game Boy.
Oh yeah.
The OG.
Correction, there is a Kirby 3D game, and it's Kirby 3D Rumble.
Googling that right now.
It's just it's you move it around. The 3D.
Very good.
Well, then in another interesting development, I suppose, Jump Rope Challenge, the game that was supposed to go away at the end of September, they decided that after recording 2.5 billion jumps in the game, they were going to just keep it on the eShop until further notice, quote. So I guess it sticks around.
We did it.
We did it.
Didn't know there was a goal, but we made it.
Congratulations, Super Switch Headz community.
So I don't know what to make of this. Like, was it a ploy to get more people to download this game? Was it?
I think it was just. I don't know exactly what it is. I mean, this kind of goes into our next story as well. So good ordering of the news as always, Patrick. But for me, this seems like they really just put this up. Like it was made by a couple people, maybe even one guy, like on their team, just because they were working from home and came up with a little project or whatever. And they fully expected not anybody would download it. And then as soon as they were like, we're taking it down eventually, then a bunch of people were like, well, I want it if it's going away. You know what I mean? And so they convinced them to leave it up. So now nobody wants it because it's not going away.
Classic human psychology. And to your point there, David, Super Mario Bros. 35 was released, the free game for NSO subscribers, which is the Mario Brothers Battle Royale game that we all wanted, sort of.
It's not the Mario Battle Royale I wanted, but it's the Mario Battle Royale I didn't know I needed. Yeah.
So that came out at the beginning of the month. It's been out for almost a week now. How do we feel about that? Has anybody tried it out other than David?
No.
Matt or Amanda? No.
Okay.
Well, then David, let's talk about it. You and
okay.
me.
Yeah. We'll have a quick discussion on it. Because I think it's great. I mean, you guys know me. I'm a huge Tetris 99 fan. I think Tetris 99 is like practically a perfect game as far as I'm concerned. It's just become so refined an experience if you understand the gameplay loop and like how best to win in that game. It's very satisfying to play, right? So I think right off the bat, I was kind of not super impressed with Super Mario Brothers 35 just because I was so used to Tetris and it felt so perfect for that format. And it really does feel like they moved the Tetris 99 format over 1-to-1 and just slapped Mario onto it. You know what I mean? Like with the sending of the enemies to other people, like you would send lines.
All the visuals and stuff.
Yeah. Even the way that you do the attackers and everything, it's all like 1-to-1. And so it didn't like really gel with me at first, but I think a big reason of that is a same kind of issue that Tetris 99 has, where they just don't explain how the game plays to you at all.
Yeah.
You know, and Tetris 99 didn't either. And it's like, I only learned through going to Reddit and looking up stuff and going to YouTube and looking up tips and tricks videos and shit like that. And the same is true for Mario 35. And I think like once I started to understand the kind of meta of the game and like how to unlock levels and the best way to kill people and stuff like that, I started enjoying it a ton more, and now I can't put it down. What about you, Patrick?
I just want to, on something you just said, I think that worked better for Tetris 99, the like hiding of the information. I know that they said that they really wanted to create the like community where people are like, you know, sharing tips and stuff for Tetris 99. Right. I think that worked better because everybody kind of knows how to play Tetris. But everybody knows how to play Mario, but then you play this and you're like, I don't get the other elements at all. They're like, you know what I mean? So I think the thing that really turns people off and the thing that frustrated me at first is you're just playing 1-1 over and over again. Yeah.
Like a lot.
And you're doing it to yourself or right. Until you learn how it works.
I think a lot of people don't understand that at the beginning, you pick what level goes into the pool of levels that are randomly decided upon for people to play. And people just spam A and press 1-1 all the time. And so you just get that level over and over again. So I think
it's very unclear.
Yeah, I think as soon as like some of the newbies start playing it a little less and people that are like understanding the game are the main ones playing, it's going to become really, really fun. I think it could be improved though. So I really hope it doesn't go away in March and they keep adding to this game because it could only get better if they like put some energy into it, which they did with Tetris 99.
And to your question about, I'm enjoying it. I haven't played it a ton, and there were a few people that said this on the Discord, and it's very true that it's addictive. It's really easy to just play one more round. And especially if you don't come in first, which is more often than not, then you're like, well, let me try one more time.
What's the length of like a typical game?
That is probably one of the worst parts about it is that they're pretty fucking long. I would say
if you last in it. Yeah. If you don't die early.
If you last, I'd say like 15 to 20 minutes. Is like pretty good average if you win.
If you run into the first Goomba, it's like 1 second.
Yeah. Which someone always does in every game that I play. I will say last thing about this game, because I could talk about this game all episode, but I do really love in this that there are only 35 people instead of 99, mainly because everyone's screen is like big enough to where you can actually see everything that's going on everybody's individual screen. And it's like, and obviously if you just stare at somebody, you're going to die because you'll run off a cliff or an enemy will hit you. But it's like, if you're trying to, it's a lot easier to like target individual people and really pick out the weaklings that you can kind of snipe easily and get rid of. And that is another thing that makes it really addictive because once you do that, you kind of feel like a god,
Well, we should mention though that it is going away, and that's weird. Yeah. Now that it's out, there's also this sort of like, why is this going away feeling? And I was talking about Oatmeal Dome earlier. They did say that in their data mining of this game, they found some tags that every level is tagged with like SMB1, which doesn't mean anything, but could mean that they're going to add levels for SMB3 or something in some other future version of it or something. We'll see.
if they're taking away in March only to release a paid version that has like Super Mario Brothers 2 and 3 and maybe even World, I would totally buy that. Yeah, I'm having so much fun with it. I would totally buy it.
So what you're saying is Super Mario 35 is following the Destiny model.
Yeah, they're gonna fix it later.
Well, it's either that or the jump rope challenge model. It's either or.
We should move on. Animal Crossing. They announced the fall update since we did our last episode, and it is also come out, the Halloween portion of it, the October portion, where you can get candy in the shop and you can dress up and you can plant pumpkins, and there's some other things. There'll be a big Halloween event. Anybody fired up Animal Crossing to check this out here on the podcast? Amanda?
I'm still kind of hungover from Animal Crossing from the very beginning. So,
yep,
but I was waiting for the fall because I saw the cute little mushroom furniture items and stuff like that. So I need to get back into it. But every time I try to, I'm like, this is just still a lot of stuff to do here. I don't want to clean it up, so I'll turn it off and do something else.
That's out of all of the updates, this has been the one that's courted me the most. But I haven't fallen prey to its allure.
Yeah, me too. I want to get back in it because all of these new items are called spooky.
Oh, spooky.
Spooky.
Do you just like spooky stuff?
Oh, I think the word spooky is funny.
Sure.
Spooky tower, spooky table, spooky rug.
So like
the spooky line.
Yeah, exactly. There are some people that just fucking like love Halloween. Have you guys noticed that? It's like how, and you know, as soon as it becomes October, they like deck out their whole house in Halloween stuff. Are you guys like that, or is it? Do you know anybody like that?
Well, we are this year. My wife has bought and gone kind of crazy, and I think I've walked around in our neighborhood at night, and lots more people are this year than previously. I think people are just like anxious to do something.
Well, they're
decorating their house. Like there's more lights and you know those like inflatable things that people put up at Christmas. Now there's a ton of them for Halloween in my neighborhood too.
The 12-foot
the 12-foot skeleton.
Exactly.
And weird other things too, like pumpkins and
whatever. I bet Christmas is going to be lit this year. I bet people are going to go all out on their
12-foot Santa.
I want a 12-foot skeleton Santa for Christmas.
So anything else on the Animal Crossing update? I haven't fired it up. Like you said, this is the one that's made me want to, but we need to have like Emma or Summer come on and talk to us about Animal Crossing or something.
Sometime later.
But while we're talking about Animal Crossing, there are a couple other things. They are restocking the Amiibo cards in North America, which they've not done in a long time. And that's not a surprise to me, but because I know like my sister-in-law, for example, has been trying to track these down, and people want that stuff now.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner.
Yeah. And then also, I don't know what's going on with My Nintendo, but they're creating all sorts of physical rewards now. There was the Mario pin set. There's been some other stuff recently too, but they've got Animal Crossing tote bags and stuff that you can get with platinum points now on My Nintendo. So that's cool to see more physical rewards, I guess.
I also, just in case you were wondering from the last episode, I did say that I wasn't able to get the pins. I was able to get the pins since then.
Huzzah.
Yeah, they were still in my cart a week later, and I was able to check out. Sorry, we can continue.
Awesome. Moving away slightly from Nintendo here, there was a Tokyo Game Show in the last 2 weeks. And there wasn't a ton of Nintendo stuff there, but there was some Hyrule Warriors stuff, which we'll kind of talk about. But did y'all watch any Tokyo Game Show? Was there anything that came out of this that you were into or excited about? A lot of JRPGs and stuff shown off. Anything y'all want to mention in particular, other than Hyrule Warriors?
I mean, there was the Nier prequel.
That's probably the coolest stuff.
But that was really just like, I don't think there was even any gameplay of that, right?
Yeah. And I think they're like releasing in the West the other Nier game, right? I forget the name of it. I don't know.
I don't know. Either way, that was I think the highlight was clearly Age of Calamity.
Cool. We'll talk about that then. That was shown off at the Tokyo Game Show. They've also released a new trailer the day we're recording this. I think it was today. And then they've announced that the day this podcast should be coming out, that there's going to be a treehouse with that game and also with Pikmin 3 Deluxe. So what are y'all thinking about all this new Hyrule Warriors information? We've seen some of the like Sheikah scientists and other stuff. And some more playable characters or allies. I don't know if we get to play as them.
I'm stoked for this. This is like, I've barely watched any of the trailers, and I'm just going to buy the game and just enjoy it without knowing any of the story or how it connects to Breath of the Wild. And I know the major beats, but all the other story elements or the characters who are in the game, I'm just going to be surprised.
I feel the same way. I don't really want to watch the Treehouse for that reason. I don't, I'm going to get this. So, like, I want to be surprised.
Yeah. I see the thing. I want to get this, but like also the same week, like I'll be getting a new Xbox and like Cyberpunk 2077. You know what I mean? So it's like, I definitely want to play this, and I will play this eventually, but like, I'm going to watch the Treehouse tomorrow because I have no idea when I'm going to be able to actually get around to playing this game, honestly. That's on top of the other games I've been playing. But what about you, Amanda?
I'll probably watch the Treehouse too, because I don't remember the first Hyrule Warriors. I think it had mixed reviews and it didn't make me really want to play it. But I loved the story of Breath of the Wild so much that I'm cool if I learn more about it if it's not the right gameplay style for me. So I'd rather watch it a little bit more to see how invested I want to get into it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are in the same boat, Amanda. Like, it seems like a lot of people are like, I don't really like Warriors games, but this one I'll try, or I'm interested in this one because of that, right?
Which
because
is a funny response, because you're like, I want to play a Warriors game for the story.
Right? That's why I'm like,
crazy.
how much story is going to actually be in it for a game like that?
It looks like a lot.
But that is a concern.
Yeah.
Like, will it just be, I don't know. We'll see.
I thought the first Hyrule Warriors was a good game. And again, I'm not a huge Warriors fan myself either. I mean, I did play like the first few Dynasty Warriors on PS2 back in the day. But it was like, what it lacked was like a cohesive story and having like a good like weight to it. You know what I mean? It felt kind of weightless and flighty, and so this looks I definitely am very much looking forward to it, and I'm just a big lore head, so I'll be excited to see what they add to it.
Kind of coming from that excitement is like, I wonder what some of the secret characters will be, because we had in Hyrule Warriors, we had like Linkle, which was the female identifying character similar to Link.
Femlink.
Yup.
Yeah. It's. I mean, we know a few already. It'll be fun to just play as the champions.
Moving on, then there was a Pokemon Sword and Shield expansion pass update for the Crown Tundra, which I believe is coming out October 22nd. I know that the three of us here aren't huge into Pokemon Sword and Shield. Amanda, have you played it? Or are you getting DLC?
I have the DLC. I still haven't finished the first part. And then once Pokemon Home became available, I dumped all of mine into there because I was worried my DS would finally die, which it still hasn't. So I'm not really wanting to finish it because they're like, oh, well, all these just came out. All these extra Pokemon that weren't in the story are now in the expansion. But I'm like, well, I have them already. They're from my library. So I'm just trying to... Right. I might as well wait for the second part to come out before I finish the first. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
The video, it looked okay. I mean, again, I'm not super into this stuff, but like, hopefully this appeals to the hardcore Pokemon fans, right? I don't know.
Like,
any thoughts?
Low core.
Yeah. I think it looks fun. I mean, I won't be buying this personally. I never finished Sword. So it's, I'm definitely going to wait until I beat that game before I even think about picking up any DLC. So I probably won't be getting this, but I do think it's cool that they're doing a like collected special edition Game of the Year or whatever that has the DLC included for a little bit more as well. Or I think that's more, right?
It's like $80. That's a great question. I saw that too, and I meant to put that in the notes. But yeah, I think it's cool that they're doing it either way. And I think you're right. I feel like if it was just $60, people would be pissed. It's too close. It's too close to the release of this, especially this one.
Right.
But I kind of hope they do that. And I don't mean to change the subject, but like I kind of hope they do that with like Smash Brothers too. I hope it'd be cool to have it all on one cart for people that are into physical stuff, and like I think it can bring more players in and that kind of stuff. So
I guarantee you they'll do that for the Switch 2, there'll be like a 4K version of Smash Ultimate with all the DLC.
Yeah,
that they release.
that'd be cool.
Yeah,
and I'm still a little bitter about that DLC because I bought Shield, and then when I went to buy the DLC, I accidentally bought the Sword DLC.
Oh no!
I can't believe it even let me buy it. So I was really mad. I'm like, I couldn't like return it or anything. It's digital, so
that's bullshit. That's one of the like we were talking about Mario 35 going away and some other stuff. I've been seeing a lot of like Nintendo is doing a lot of anti-consumer stuff, and that was one of the things I saw is like a lot of people accidentally bought the wrong DLC.
They didn't even warn me. That was like, do you have this version first? And they're not the colors like. The Sword version is very blue themed scheme, and then the Shield is very like red pink, and the DLC is all green. And so you can't really tell which one you're getting when you're just scrolling through really fast.
That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that, but it's good to hear that. Be warned, people, if you're going to go do this.
Don't do what I did. Learn from my mistakes.
Yeah, Amanda did this so you would never have to.
Did this for everyone out there.
You're the Jesus of Pokemon.
And while we're talking about while I threw in Smash Brothers, the next Smash Brothers character got announced on October 1st. They had a reveal trailer and then an in-depth video of Sakurai on the 3rd. It's Steve from Minecraft. Steve and Alex is kind of how they're tagging it. And though there's also other alts. Whoa, this was pretty cool. I think I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I think it's amazing. It's such a big game to bring in. And I think that's why it's amazing, whether or not you like Minecraft. Like, it's one of the biggest video games ever. And so like bringing that in is going to bring in some new Smash fans. It's going to please some people. It's going to please younger people who grew up with Minecraft. Like I think about my nephews who I remember like 10 years ago, who are now like in their early 20s, like watching them play it when they were in their, like early teens and stuff. Mm-hmm. So what do y'all think about Steve coming to Minecraft?
I just think it's crazy that we have a second Microsoft representation, and it's not Master Chief.
Yeah,
yeah. They're both Microsoft, but also kind of not Microsoft.
Exactly. Yeah. Big Daddy Microsoft bought them all, and now they're in Smash.
Yeah. He's like, these are my adopted children.
And while Master Chief might feel more native to Microsoft, that's not entirely true too, right? Like, wasn't Bungie making Halo and then got acquired by like they announced it for PC and then Microsoft bought
although that having been said, it's like that's what if you had to what's the word I'm looking for? Never mind. I'm going to drop this bit. Free associate. If you had to free associate, fuck
Banjo.
Right, yeah, this is. I should have quit while I was ahead. I think this is great. I at first, like my immediate gut reaction was to like roll my eyes so hard that they popped out of my head. But then as I was like watching how the character actually plays and just thinking about it, like you said, it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest game of all time. It just makes a ton of sense. And just the way that the character actually controls, even like the way the character looks, it just looks like they took him right out of Minecraft and just placed him into Smash. Like Banjo has a little bit of an update and kind of like looks cleaner and kind of fits into the world. This straight up just looks like a model from Minecraft and seemingly plays that way too, with like the mining mechanics and the crafting and all that kind of stuff. It's crazy what they've added to it. It seems like the most complicated character by far.
There's a lot of hate among, I think, older gamers and people who want more obscure characters and stuff. But I think the one maybe criticism you could have is that the aesthetics are so different. Because you think about like Duck Hunt and Ice Climbers and, all the playable characters, they kind of update to have that same sort of look. But
I think how would you even do it? Like,
it wouldn't work.
The look of Minecraft is Minecraft.
Right. It wouldn't work.
It's so iconic. It would be so weird if you had like a realistic face.
And there are 8-bit stages and like assist trophies and stuff too. So
it also, this announcement broke Twitter.
That's right.
I think Twitter went down during this announcement, and even Sakurai later was like, I think we maybe broke Twitter. I'm sorry
perhaps, about that. Yeah. But we got to talk about Sakurai. The video where he showed this off, I just love watching these videos because he's always finds a way to throw in some really interesting comments and like talk about his company and how he's not hiring. I loved that moment. And then when he also like, shit, I lost my train of thought.
Maybe how he was talking about how Nintendo wanted him to do it, and he was like, "Do you think this is easy? You think I could just? You think I could just do this?"
His anecdote about them like coming over and looking at him and over their glasses and stuff. Yeah. It's nice.
I just saw the screenshot of him saying, "It's just been so lonely," and I really felt that.
Oh, Sakurai-san.
Yeah. Well, I could talk about that forever as well, but we'll
talk more about that whenever the character actually comes out.
Yeah, that's a good call. There's a lot to talk about there. We'll save that for it. Comes out on the 13th, so not too long to wait here. But one interesting piece of news that kind of came out around the same time is there was a former business developer from Mojang, which is like the pre-Microsoft company that made Minecraft, that says that this talk had been happening for 5 years. So there were a lot of leaks, as you may remember from like Vergibin and stuff, about Minecraft content coming to Smash, and it seems like those may have been credible, given how long this talk has been. It's also like, man, that's interesting to hear.
Yeah, I think it was the Smash 4 DLC character idea originally.
Wow.
Yeah, which would have been crazy. But I mean, it makes sense if they were like, we've got this next one, we've got this new console, let's hold and kind of go for a while. But yeah, I'm glad they finally did it. I don't care that it looks out of place. I think it looks really fun to play as. And the Enderman is crazy.
Maybe we can real quickly mention the Mii costumes too, because there's a lot of rumors about Travis Touchdown coming, and I guess that ended up sort of being true because that was a Mii costume, and then Bomberman was sort of the like fancy Mii costume, whatever we call those.
I like calling them fancy. I think that's good.
That's what we'll do.
I'm very excited about Bomberman. I've always wanted Bomberman in the game, so I'm a little bummed that he's not a real character, but I never really expected him to be a fighter. But I think it looks exactly like Bomberman, and there's one of those special moves that you can make where he throws a ball. So I'll just pretend those are bombs.
David, you just said you're a little bummed. Did you mean to say you're a little bombed?
I'm a little bummed that Bummerman is not in the game.
Nice. Try to move on quickly here. Cyberpunk 2077, you mentioned this coming out in November. Well, it sounds like they are in a big crunch phase, despite CD Projekt Red having said that they weren't going to do any crunch for this. But I guess that's not true. And that's sad to hear, because I want to play this game, but I don't ever want to support that in the industry. I don't know.
I've read this. Hopefully people don't get mad at me for saying this. But, I read the email, that was leaked to Jason Schreier from the CD Projekt Red team. And like, it's the last 6 weeks of the project. It's at the very end. They're having them come in working one extra day a week, which usually when you're in a creative job, like this kind of stuff does happen. And obviously you want to not have crunch, but it's like, a lot of times when you do this, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you have to come in on a Saturday. It could be that you're doing 2 extra hours, every day that week or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's like OT, and they're getting paid for it. It's like, I mean, obviously you don't want crunch. And the big issue here is that CD Projekt Red has been super anti-crunch this whole time. I think they're giving them a little bit too much shit for it just because of what they said. I think at the end of the day, like, this isn't nearly as bad as a lot of the other companies that you see. It's not as bad as the stories that you hear out of Naughty Dog or the stuff that you've been hearing out of, Rockstar and stuff like that. So I don't know. Maybe I've got too rose tinted of glasses on about it, but I feel like it felt like people were getting mad just kind of to get mad.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, I think I agree with you. It's like there's two different sides of the spectrum, which is like no crunch, never, versus crunch all the time, like you said, Rockstar. But you're approaching it somewhere in the middle of like, closer to a release date, of course there's going to be a little bit of overtime with almost any creative output or almost any job. And sure, all of that can be solved by maybe some project management scope or scope creep and all that shit. But I think this conversation is definitely more nuanced than saying all crunch is bad.
Yeah, like a lesser company would have released this game like 2 years ago with them crunching for the whole final year. You know what I mean? Like they've delayed this game so many times already because they've been trying to avoid this situation. And now they're in the situation where the game has gone gold. It's ready to go. But there are these like bug fixes that everybody wants to fix because they want it to be good. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's definitely not ideal. And I don't want to just like, you know, have fun off the backs of struggling workers or anything like that. But it's like, it really doesn't seem that way. And it seems like for the most part, CD Projekt Red treats their employees really well, you know?
You know, this makes me think we should do an episode on crunch at some point. Yeah, I feel like it's a really interesting topic. And I've talked about this, I think last time. I've been reading, almost finished with Blood, Sweat, and Pixels by Jason Schreier. And there's a lot of talk about crunch in there. And I don't know. There's a lot to talk about
We should get Jason on the show.
Yeah, there you go.
Love to talk to him about it.
We'll move on. But if you have thoughts on that out there, listener, we'd love to hear that. But we should move on. Another big non-Nintendo announcement that happened was Amazon Luna. Amazon's getting into the cloud gaming game, as that's a poorly phrased thing that I just said, but that's happening. I don't know what to think about this. Yeah. At least Amazon is like trying to make their own exclusives. We've talked about that on the show before, I think.
But there aren't any. There aren't any Amazon exclusives in Luna. So
there you go. Okay.
Hard pass.
Yeah, it's great that like Google and Amazon are doing this to like figure out these issues, and then Microsoft can like have the better product or something. I don't know. We'll move on. It's happening.
It's not their game to play. They're coming in trying to make a bunch of cash cow shit. I mean, Google seems to have more heart in it than Luna does. You know what I mean?
The only thing Amazon has going for them is Twitch, maybe, if they can pull something off there, but I don't know that they can. So
Twitch has been doing fine without Luna this whole time.
We'll see. We talked about Bethesda being acquired by Microsoft. Well, one of the big fruits of that, Doom Eternal is coming to Game Pass, or is on Game Pass now, I believe. So that's a big thing. I know Game Pass subs are up. That's crazy stuff.
It's funny that it's out on Game Pass before it's out on Switch.
Yeah. And then while we're talking about Microsoft, this is not really news, but it was funny. Everybody was speculating that Microsoft's going to buy Sega next. Everybody was speculating that they're going to buy somebody. And the evidence for this was quite hilarious. Matthew, do you want to talk about this? Do you remember some of the ridiculous stuff people were saying?
Do yourself a favor. Go to Google right now or any image search and look
Bing.
up. Go to Bing. Yeah. Give Microsoft more money, because this is a Microsoft podcast now. It's just look for Microsoft buying Sega, and there are just crazy pictures. And there are two examples that are great rumors. Rumor fodder, which is there's a new Xbox Series X controller, and it's the same values as the blue for Sonic. The same blue values is on the controller, same blue values for Sonic. That's one. And then there's another worker that was doing an X with her arms towards a box, a literal cardboard box.
Confirmed.
And people thought Xbox.
Definitive evidence. Yeah. And
anyway, that having been said, I'd be cool with it. Anyway, we can move on.
We'll move on then. The Giga Leak has continued. All this additional, Nintendo stuff keeps spilling out. It sounds like there's been a bunch of Pokemon stuff and some 3DS stuff coming out. I don't pretend to understand a lot of this stuff, but other ROMs and things from the Famicom, and I don't even know what. I
was just playing the unreleased Game Boy Color ROM for Pokemon Picross today from this leak. It's very good.
It's supposed to be really good.
Yeah, that's great.
And then speaking about like Nintendo leaks and stuff, there's this pirate group called Team Executor.
Executor.
They were a couple of people from that were arrested. They're not people who just. I guess we should say like they sell ROMs, right? Like they sell hacked switches that have things, or they sell things rather than just like selling devices that you can use to hack. They sell stuff that has ROMs on them and stuff like that.
I don't know that they sell like the pirated copies of games to people, but what they do sell is software that they made for the Switch that is a second party software that they're making money off of specifically, that gives you the option to go to servers and download ISOs for games or whatever. Right. So it's like, so the reason that like other homebrew Switch hacking people haven't gotten in trouble is because all their shit is open source. It's free. You can access it whenever, and they don't have servers that have games hosted. Right. Team Executor is like making money off of stolen Switch games, essentially. And so that's why they were arrested by the feds.
Yeah.
They've been on the run for several years, apparently.
Yeah, they were in the Dominican Republic, apparently.
Hell yeah. Just them chilling with John McAfee fucking in the jungle.
Totally. Well, I think that does it for the news. Then we're going to take a very quick break, and we're going to come back and talk all about fishing in games. This week we are talking all about fishing in games. Like David said, we're not talking about games that are fishing sims. We're talking about the mini game of fishing that is in so many games. Why is that? We'll talk about that. How many games? So many games. A bunch recently from Nintendo. And I think that is also what resonated with me when you pitched this idea to us, Amanda. It was like, how many games just in this year and the last year came out that had this? And just a couple, and I'm sure I'm missing some here, but Animal Crossing, obviously, the new Animal Crossing has fishing. Clubhouse Games has that fishing mini game.
Yeah. It has Animal Crossing fishing, basically.
Yeah, it's very similar. Paper Mario, the new Paper Mario game had a little fishing section mini game. Fire Emblem Three Houses has it. I'm sure I'm missing some more.
Link's Awakening, the remake.
Link's Awakening, that's right.
Yeah, all of the Zelda games supposedly have some sort of fishing. Most of them have like a fishing aspect to it.
So lots of recent games, but also just games in general. There's a lot of fishing in games, and so yeah, we're gonna talk about that. What some of our favorites are. Maybe the best one we can crown. Maybe not. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll have an objective winner of best fishing in a game by the end of this episode.
But I think there's obviously like a game that is about fishing might have a more realistic sim version, but there's different kinds of fishing mini games, right? There's sort of a more realistic one and then an arcade style. But it seems like a lot of these games have sort of the same kind of mini game. What do y'all think? Is it always kind of like press A at the right time, or is it like you wait for the vibration? What do you like in terms of your style of mini game?
Well, anytime I see a game and there's a body of water, I say they better let me fish or I'm going to quit. And they tell me the goal and the path in the game, and I say, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go do whatever else I can find to do, whether it's loot something or pick something up. And I liked the Link's Awakening little mini game was really cute. But I think my favorite one is Far Cry 5, which is set in like rural Montana. Right. And that fishing game is so detailed. It's its own game in a game. And if you've ever played Far Cry, you usually have like some sort of companion with you. And it's really fun because your dog or your pet cougar will go out to the lake and get your fish for you. And there's like trophy fish you can go get. I love it. I'll play that before I play the story mission.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like, that made me more interested in Far Cry 5 than almost anything else about the game.
It's so good. No.
Yeah.
The story is awesome. The villains in Far Cry 5 are my favorite part of the game, too.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while. So I think the last one I played was 2, actually. Like the one where
3 is great.
The one where you get malaria.
I never played 2, but 3 is awesome. And I think if you get 5, there's like an expansion pack that comes with a remastered version of 3.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Yeah. Well, that was an aside, but but yes. Yeah. I think it's cool that they went all out with the fishing in that game, because like you were saying, Patrick, you would think that like fishing in a lot of video games, and again, not necessarily in just fishing games, but like fishing in games does actually vary pretty wildly, I think, in how the mechanics work. Like, you know, I feel like the classic kind that you would see a lot, like what I think of when I think of like the OG games where you fish is like Link's Awakening for the Game Boy, right? Where you've got the kind of side view and you've got multiple sizes of fish, and you're trying to fish for the biggest one, basically, and like moving your bait around. And that's kind of like how I think of fishing games. But then Animal Crossing is totally different, because that's more kind of blind box fishing. You know what I mean? Like, I guess the
size
shapes
matters,
are different,
but it's still random, and
yeah. So anyway, I just think it's interesting how these games tackle them in different ways.
My anecdote here would be Stardew Valley, which I feel like I played Stardew Valley, and I fished for the first time, and there's no tutorial about how to do it, and there's like a meter that shows up, and I'm like, I don't know which end of this meter I'm supposed to go for. And after like 20 tries, I haven't done anything and failed every time. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go Google search this. And then I feel like an idiot.
And being at the dock past my bedtime and not making it home so many times.
So like I think it's funny, like I don't think it's an in-depth fishing experience in Stardew Valley, but it definitely was hard for me.
And it has a seasonal aspect too, like Animal Crossing does too. And I didn't realize that. And I was like, well, I just missed my only chance to get one fish that I really needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought Red Dead Redemption 2 also does fishing pretty well, and how they integrate some of the story. You go on a mission, you get a fishing rod, and then you catch a fish for this old drunk guy. And I fished maybe a couple of times and then never again. But I just,
is fishing not for you in games, Matt?
I'm not sure. If it
Are
is.
there any games where you liked it a lot, or?
Well, I think maybe the bigger question is like that I've been thinking about is fishing is in so many games. Like there are a variety of other. Fishing seems like a parlor game to me, like billiards or darts.
It's a worldwide classic.
Yeah.
1 of 51.
Can you name them real quick?
We're not doing that in season 3.
Okay, that's fair. And I'm just curious what you all think of, like, why is fishing so prevalent in video games?
That's a great. Let's talk about the why. I've been thinking about this a lot too since this, like, I've realized how ubiquitous this is. And I fishing is such an important thing in real life. I feel like maybe like, you know, it's one of the major ways that humans have gotten food for millennia. Is that why? Is it because I think
it's a Japanese thing, honestly. I think you know, Japan had, you know, centuries of where the only way that anybody made any money in Japan was the fishing economy.
They're an
you know
island,
what I mean? Like, yeah. It's like fishing and, you know, fish in general and sushi and all this kind of stuff is like ingrained in Japanese culture. And, you know, we're seeing a lot of these games coming out early on are all from Japan. And I think from that point, it just kind of like became one of those video game tropes, right? Like I'm sure there's lots of other video game tropes that also get their start in Japanese culture, just in ways that we don't really understand. We just kind of chalk them up to video game things. But fishing to me definitely seems like a cultural thing initially. But I don't know. Do you guys agree with that?
I never made that connection
that
with like you know, Eastern culture. But that makes sense why there are a lot of Western games which might have hunting over fishing.
That's true. You think about like the Tomb Raider games. You like hunt, and the new ones at least, or the first new one. And
you got to get you a game that does both, like Oregon Trail.
That's a good call. But I Amanda, do you have any thoughts about why fishing is in so many video games?
I don't know. Sometimes it's good because it feels like if you're like for games that are based that have like a monetary value, it's a good way where you can kind of grind through the game and get money where it's coming to sell fish or something like that. something they can easily include, or things that involve crafting and stuff like that. Like in Skyrim, all the fish had different values or different properties for when you were making potions and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So it's I guess an outlet to provide for main themes in games.
Yeah, I think it definitely, I see it as, and I think this is kind of to your point, David, of like, once it's a thing, but like it's an easy way to add a little extra content, like something that's real, like it's the most easy little mini game to throw in. And I've been talking about, I've been reading Blood, Sweat and Pixels. They have a chapter on Shovel Knight, and there was one of the developers at Yacht Club Games that like really wanted a fishing pole and wanted fishing to be in the game and kept bringing it up, and everybody kept saying no. And they brought it up so many times that everybody just caved and they added it. And now that's kind of like a big part of Shovel Knight's kit is the fishing. So like,
right.
That's funny.
Yeah. I think just beyond like it being an easy kind of idea for a mini game to throw into any game, I think that fishing in games often acts like fishing in real life. You know what I mean? Where it's just like something you do to relax. You know what I mean? Like fishing has never been like, I'm
stressful fishing.
I was about to say there's no competitive fishing, but clearly that's wrong. But it's like, but it's like fishing, I feel like historically has been something to take your mind off. It's something you do by yourself, right? You go out onto a boat and you just kind of sit there with a pole and hope you get a nibble and, reflect on whatever, Henry David Thoreau-esque thoughts you're having at the time. Right. And I feel like in a video game too, it's like, that's why you see it as a mini game so often. It's like, yeah, you can go to the next dungeon in Link's Awakening, or you can just go back and fucking fish again for however long you want and just kind of relax. And it's just kind of something there for people when they don't necessarily want to, they don't want to be on the grind and they just kind of want to do something to relax and have fun within that game space. I think it's just kind of like a nice reflection of real life in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a way to take a break from the game while still playing the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought y'all both tackled that pretty well. And like Final Fantasy 15 does this pretty well, because at any time you can go fish after fighting these huge titans, fighting these big monsters, driving around in a road trip with your boys, and you could just go fish.
Yeah. I do think that I enjoyed fishing minigames more when I was a kid. I don't know if I have patience for fishing minigames anymore, though. Does that make me bad?
No. Well, they're in so many games. It may have lost its like charm in some way, right?
I think the Animal Crossing style of fishing, like I know people that just spend their whole day fishing in Animal Crossing, and I've never been able to do that for some reason. I think maybe the fishing in Animal Crossing just makes me too anxious.
Yeah, I think the RNG, the random number generator aspect of Animal Crossing fishing doesn't do it for me. Because I'm going to spend so long trying to get this string fish. And then when I got it, I'm going to be stoked. And I'm going to take a picture and send it to all my friends. And then I'm going to be filled with regret.
Yeah.
How much time you lost.
Exactly.
I guess that's something that video game fishing does that real life fishing doesn't. Like, real life fishing is totally RNG. Right? Like you're going out and it's like, okay, there's going to be X number of minnows in this pond and then X number of bass or whatever. And you're hoping that the right fish will bite your bait. Right. But I think the reason that the fishing mini games that I really enjoy are the ones where you can see each one and it comes down to way more timing and like skill based. You know what I mean? So I guess there's like kind of a difference there.
Yeah.
Between like, whether you want to be doing it for skill or whether you want to just do it to have that kind of realistic approach.
Yeah. And I know that we're talking about mini games, but maybe while we're talking about the sort of realistic approach and that kind of stuff too, there are obviously real fishing games out there. And somebody dropped a note in here about Sega Bass Fishing, and did they have, who was that? And did they have like an anecdote about that?
That was me. And just to say, like, Sega Bass Fishing for the Dreamcast is a great fishing simulator. But the craziest thing to me is that there is an official Sega controller, fishing rod controller for the Dreamcast, for this game. And it's just crazy kind of the commitment that some, game designers have to a game by making a whole controller for, a niche sport like it's fishing.
And didn't in our peripherals episode, wasn't there like a Game Boy fishing peripheral we talked about?
There was the Game Boy like depth sonar.
Oh, that's what it was.
Like basically, it was like you would like connect it to your Game Boy and then throw it in the pond, and it would like it would basically turn a real pond into a fishing mini game that you could play, which was pretty cool. Way ahead of its time. It's still like kind of nobody does that, but.
Or I remember the one that I think it was Bass Pro Shop branded that was at like real life arcades that probably we'd never be able to use again because everyone touches the reel and it like had actual tension to it. And I remember wasting so much money on a game that didn't give me any tickets or any prize at the end.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and that's the tension, right? And like the Switch doesn't have like analog triggers. That is a nice little thing that some fishing games can do. And I guess the Rumble works that way a little bit.
Labo did that. Labo gave you a little bit of tension on your in the variety kit. The Labo set, the fishing Labo set had like a string that had a little bit of tension on it, and that actually was a pretty cool game. The way that one worked, it had the Switch in kind of a vertical orientation, and you'd be seeing like a cross section of the pond as your bait is going down. It actually reminded me of this game by Flambeer called Ridiculous Fishing, which is a mobile game.
Ridiculous Fishing.
Yeah, which is another great game. I think actually mobile fishing games would be a lot of fun if I actually put some time into them, because it's like those are kind of mini games on their own, mobile games, But yeah, I thought I definitely wanted to put Labo on here as
that's a good call.
Yeah.
Another one of the Nintendo fishing mini games that's come out recently. Well, before we move on to maybe best in-game fishing and talk about what might be the best, are there any other things like fishing in games that are this like common in every game as a mini game or a side quest or anything? I was trying to think about that. Or is it just fishing?
It's like, I guess, farming, but most of the time if there's farming, it's like a game that's strictly based on farming, like Stardew Valley or...
Yeah, maybe you said crafting earlier, Amanda. Maybe that's kind of like something that's kind of creeping in games, but that also feels like a mechanic more than like a side content.
You're crafting items for you to use. Yeah. You're never fishing fish for you to like hit people with.
Mm-mm.
And that's
although that would be tight.
Well, yeah, like what are there any other things that are in games that are a distraction from the main quest that a lot of games put in there? Yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to and anything like darts or bowling, like Final Fantasy VII Remastered had a darts mini game.
Yeah, and then in Breath of the Wild, there's the bowling mini game, and
I was going to say bowling.
The thing I could think of is maybe like races. Like a lot of games throw in little mini races, or like
kind of like slalom style, where you have to go in between certain points in an open world or something like that. You see those a lot.
Yeah, or like timed challenges. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty unique in that way. Fishing. I think it's I was saying it earlier, but it just like it feels like fishing in video games is like as expected as like shooting a red barrel will make it explode. You know what I mean? It's just like one of those things that's part of the language of video games, and I love that. Something that I really hope Breath of the Wild 2 has is like actual fishing. Because that was something that game was really missing. We're talking about all the, there are races in Breath of the Wild. There's bowling. There's all these little side quests. But
you just grab
the fishing in that game is you like throw a bomb into the water and then try to grab them with your hands.
You're swimming by and you just click A and you grab it. And
yeah. And I wish they'd fleshed that out a little bit more, because it really does seem like one of the franchises that really pioneered like the fishing minigame, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe before we move on, we can just spend a few minutes talking about like there are fishing games, like professional simulated fishing games that's supposed to recreate the experience of fishing without getting drinks with your boys and girls. As a joke, I put up this link in our show notes from fishingtackleretailer.com.
I read that.
But what this goes to say is, put this.
And the headline is, "Do we really need fishing games?"
Yeah. And I'll read you a quote right now, which made me laugh, but it's also maybe leads into something a little bit bigger, which is, are fishing video games distracting people from actually going fishing? Or is it a stroke of genius, a way to scratch the angling itch when you can't go? Or is it a way to reach out to more tech-savvy generations and perhaps even a way of bringing new people to the sport?
Or is the world being overfished and this is the only way?
Yeah, that's not a bad point. I think
fishing.
it's way better to fish in a game than to like suck all the fish out of the ocean, right? We should write that in the comments of this article on this fishing website.
This is it's an article from 2019. Let's say, hey, we talked about your article on our Nintendo podcast.
Oh man,
that's great, man.
This just like goes to say, like, there are, people respond to like, why would you play Madden when you just go outside and throw a football?
Right.
Why would you play FIFA if you could just go outside and kick a soccer ball?
Because I can't fish in real life by just moving two thumbs.
And then the fishing competitions in real life, I always feel like that's I don't understand how you can compete if there's no chance of someone winning sometimes. Like, what if no one catches anything? Like, is it just a draw? Like, someone still wins.
Well, then you have to catch each other. And it becomes a battle royale.
I think I've been fishing in my life, real fishing. Like, I could count it on one hand.
Did you say real?
Real big fishing?
Real.
I've been actual fishing maybe like 5 times in my life. So I know it's an important thing. How many times did you
catch something?
Yeah, probably 0.
Yeah, I will say, like, I would, to answer the question of that this article poses, do we really need fishing games? I say yes.
Yeah,
because I've had so much more fun fishing in video games than I've ever had fishing in real life. I mean, maybe that's just because I burn easy, but like, I just like, again, it comes down to like skill for me. It's like, it's fun to master even the most asinine aspects of video games, right? That's why we see like speed running becoming such a huge thing. It's like the games aren't made to be played competitively that way, but if you want to, you could spend your whole time trying to get the high score in a fucking fishing minigame in any kind of video game and be the top in the world at fishing in that. And I think that is just so fun. And that's like really alluring to me. And it's like these kind of games within games are always very exciting to me. And I would much prefer that to real life fishing.
Fair enough. Well, then maybe we should talk about.
I also wouldn't want to like shoot people in real life either, but I do.
Yeah. What is the best fishing mini game? What game has the best in-game fishing for each of you? I think maybe a couple of you already said it. What do we think is the best for this category?
My favorite one was the Far Cry one I mentioned, but I think some of the ones that really are important for the game itself would be like the OG Pokemon. Like when you finally got a fishing rod that like you couldn't get any water type Pokemon until you got a fishing rod, and all you'd catch were Magikarp if you had the old rod, and then you'd level up and then you could catch other ones. And that really opened up half the game for you.
Yeah, that's good.
Anybody else have a favorite? Or
I mean, I don't want to, sound too simplistic, but I think it's Link's Awakening for me, and a lot of that is probably nostalgic. But it's like that, just like it also kind of blew my mind that section was like a 2D side-scrolling style. You know what I mean? Anytime the game would go from like above camera down to like Link's eye level or whatever in that game, it kind of blew my mind. So I sunk so many hours into that when I was a kid on my original Game Boy, and that'll be the one that I always hold closest to my heart. It's a lot better than Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics fishing. That's pretty bad fishing.
You got a favorite, Matthew?
I would probably say, Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
It's
a good one.
Trying to catch a fish well. I don't remember being particularly good at it, but I remember having a good time.
I was terrible at it. I don't think I ever 100% of that game because of the fishing requirements. Yeah.
Yeah, was it like the 35-pound fish was really like difficult to catch?
Yeah, it's really rare. Yeah. Patrick?
I had a hard time with this. I can't think of like a game where I really loved the fishing as a kid or anything. And I'm kind of leaning towards saying the new Animal Crossing game because I feel like that's the first game where I've really gotten into the fishing. I know y'all were kind of saying you didn't like it, but I found that to be to the point of like, I can just chill out and fish here for a little bit and try to fill out this index or whatever.
I definitely like the Animal Crossing one because it's my favorite thing in games is like collecting all of the things, probably not just the plot of the game.
Right.
And so whenever I miss out on one for a season of Animal Crossing, I'm like, okay, well, I'm done. I have to wait till next year, and I have to pick up where I left off. So,
well, you're the expert, so I guess objectively the best fishing in a game is Animal Crossing. Or would you say it's Far Cry 5?
No, I think Animal Crossing had more fish. There's more variety.
There you go. You heard it here. If you disagree with this list, you're wrong because it's objectively the best fishing in any game of all time.
But is there anything else anybody wants to mention about fishing in games or any other games we didn't mention that the four of us are aware of?
The more that I thought about it when we were prepping for this episode, we said at the top, fishing's in so many games. It's just crazy. The more that I think about it and like the more research that I did, I was like, oh yeah, like Fable had fishing in it in the form of shooting an arrow at fish in the water.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on like the TV Tropes site, the TV Tropes page for fishing mini games, and I just am scrolling forever and it never stops. So many.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Well, I think that does it. You heard it here. It's in every game. But
we've ended topics a little smoother than that before, but that's how we're doing it this time.
Okay, yeah, we're going with it. I was going to say this though too. If you're out there listening, if you're listening and there's a game we didn't mention and you're like, how could you not mention this? We'd love to hear it. What do you think the best?
I'm sure there's a lot fishing? We didn't mention.
Yeah,
and I'm sure
that's how you get engagement, Patrick.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. We'd love to hear what the best mini game of fishing is that we didn't mention. Or if you owned a fishing pole peripheral or something for some game.
Labo Fishers sound off in the comments.
And with that, we will then take another little break and come back and talk about what we've been playing recently. I'll talk first. It's been 2 weeks, and also I've been playing shit tons of games. So I'm going to try to go through this quickly, but with my kid, he played through Mario Odyssey again on assist mode, and I was real proud of him because he got the camera down. So now we can play some 3D games, I feel like. And to that end, we watched the Smash announcement, and we got back into Minecraft together, and he can finally control the camera better and has been building Minecraft or like minecart rails everywhere. And then man, he and I also tried out Untitled Goose Game, the co-op mode that they added to see how that was, which we had
How is it?
It's fun. I wish they had also added in like some co-op missions, because I think that would have been really cool, stuff you couldn't do by yourself, but it just makes some things easier. And then we just had a fun time just going around and honking and and stuff. But we didn't like stick with it. We just played it for like a couple hours. He is always obsessed with Mario Maker. He and I've been like making courses together a lot lately. Man, I've been all over the place here. I played we played some Mario Maker online the other day. Us and DCD and
Chris McKeever.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Online Mario Maker when you're with friends and not randoms and there's no lag is so much fun.
I bought the Gardens Between because it was on sale for like $5-6, which is a puzzle game, and I played through the first half a dozen or so of those puzzles. Pretty cool.
We met those guys at South by.
Or PAX. And then I've also been playing a lot more Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I think I'm into it now.
Hey, there you go.
Tell me more.
What do you want to know?
Spill your guts.
I think I'm finally starting to feel comfortable with like the battle system and kind of getting a better sense of what I'm doing, even though I'm sure I'm still very early on. I think I'm like 10-ish hours in, maybe more like 15. I'm inside of a Titan, if that makes any sense. And there's like a group of mercenaries there.
Sure does. Are you at the army camp?
It's like a mercenary camp that's the belly of a Titan.
Great moment. You're hitting right at the stride. You got another 10 hours before it really hits in.
Well, that's what I keep hearing too. But like, I'm actually sticking with it and been playing it a lot. So
you'll be out of the tutorial pretty soon.
That's what I hear. I got another 20 hours of tutorial, but I feel like I need another 20 hours. I'm like, what is going on in this game?
Yeah,
it's such a weird experience because of that. But I've been talking a lot, so I'll let somebody else go.
I'll go really quickly. I've been playing one game that's Star Wars Squadrons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's great. Played it in VR.
You have my attention.
It's great in VR. The current version is locked at a really weird, like low frame rate, and it's locked at 60 FPS.
Low.
And I know it sucks.
I know it's low for VR. It's low for VR.
It should go higher, but the skybox looks like shit. Like it looks like 1998 internet in VR. Like the ship, the X-Wing, the TIE fighters look great. The other ships look great. Skybox, shit. But it doesn't matter because you're just like zooming around in a TIE fighter in VR, flying by a Star Destroyer, like destroying or capturing a Star Destroyer. It's pretty insane. Whenever anyone plays it in VR, I hope everyone is like really giddy because it's cool.
Yeah. Are you playing it on the Index?
I am.
Yeah, man. I really want that, but it's like, well, I think the only way I'd be able to do it is like PSVR, and I don't even have a PSVR. So I'm just gonna have to come over to your house and stick my COVID face inside your VR headset.
Well, please do. I can't wait to get your COVID face all over my VR headset because my COVID face is already in there.
Oh my god.
David or Amanda? Yeah.
I'll go next. I've been playing a lot of games as well. Played a little bit of Smash Online. Been playing more Spelunky 2 as well. And Spelunky 2 is an excellent game. Playing a little bit more Hades. I did pick up this game called Orbit XL. It was 99 cents on the eShop. I believe I talked about this game on the show before. It's called Ding Dong XL. Ding Dong XL is like a game where you kind of like bop a thing back and forth from the top and bottom of the screen without hitting things. Orbit XL is a very similar idea. It's by the same developer. Basically, you're on an orbit around this kind of black hole. It's like this 2D game, and you're trying to, and every time you press A, you like increase your thrust to like get out of the orbit of falling into the black hole. But then at the same time, there are items coming in from the sides of the screen that you're trying to avoid hitting by like moving out of orbit of this black hole. It's super simple. It's very arcadey. It's what I played while watching the presidential debate. So now it's like hard for me to play the game because I keep associating it with.
You keep getting interrupted.
Yeah, because I keep associating it with Trump screaming. But it's a very fun game. I really recommend it. Also been playing a lot of Mario's Picross on the Super Nintendo. In addition to that, but also, like I said before, playing Pokemon Picross. I'm playing lots of Picross. I'm always playing lots of Picross. And those are like the old school Picross. So it's like there's like a time limit and shit like that in those games. So it's a lot of fun. And there's no like temp spacing. Like a big thing that I do when I play Picross is I put like a little temporary mark where I think one might be. The old school games don't have that. So I feel like I'm becoming a way better Picross player because I'm not having to rely on that crutch. And then I did also play a little bit of Donkey Kong Country 2 with Sasha, which was a ton of fun, playing that game multiplayer. I enjoyed that. And then, I've been talking a lot, but, also just playing a lot more Super Mario 3D All-Stars and Mario 35. Just been basically my Switch has just been jumping back and forth between different Mario games for the majority of the past 2 weeks, which I guess this is the year to do it, right? This is the year of Mario. But I've been having a ton of fun just playing games and not getting work that I've needed to get done. What about you, Amanda? You been playing anything recently?
Hey, before, sorry to interrupt you, but Patrick has a big Smash announcement.
You said Smash Online, and I completely forgot. But for any long-time listener of the podcast, I've been playing Smash Online all the time, and I still am. And I finally got into Elite Smash with my main character, Piranha Plant, which was a huge deal for me.
Woo-hoo.
And then I immediately fell out of it, but I did it.
You screenshotted it,
I
right?
screenshotted it for the Discord because I was so proud of myself. But I did.
Go.
Yeah, not to step on your toes, Amanda. What you please talk.
Oh, no,
Yeah, what have you been playing?
I've been playing Super Mario 3D All Stars.
Yeah.
I've been playing them in order because I never beat Super Mario 64 because I just wasn't good when it came out, and I'm still not good. And I've gotten to, this is the irony of the whole episode, is I've gotten to Jolly Roger Bay, and I'm still just as terrified as day one, and I can't. I need to take a break, and I need to gather my thoughts, and I'll go back into
Is
it.
Jolly Roger Bay the fishing minigame of Mario 64?
No, it's just my nightmare of Mario 64.
Yeah. Mario 64 is still good though, right?
It really
it's
is.
still good.
Yeah. And then and Sunshine too. Like I've been playing Sunshine mainly recently. I got 70 stars in Mario 64 and like moved on to Sunshine. And I love to give Sunshine. Let me start that over. I love to give Sunshine shit. That's hard to say. But it really is a great fucking game. And
I'm trying to get sick of 64 so I can go to Sunshine, and then
right.
But I love the music in that one.
Yeah, great games. Anything else you've been playing, or just that?
Just that, and just going back through Picross more.
Hell yeah! Which one are you playing?
I think I went back to 3 because I couldn't figure out how to do the Picross XL with like the big multi-column numbers, and then once I figured it out on the 5th one, I was like, okay, I can go back through 4 and 3 and actually finish all the levels. So I'm almost done with 3 again.
Once you figure out the Mega Picross stuff, or you're talking about the ones where it's like 2 rows inside a single column or whatever.
Yeah, the Mega Picross. Yeah.
Yeah. Once you figure that out, that's like the way to play. I think it's so much fun. Yeah. Really racks
And the best
your
part
brain.
about those games is you could clear all the memory. It's not like I'm going to remember, oh, this one's the flower or this one's the dog. Like you'll never remember what that pattern was. Yeah.
That's funny. It's really nice to talk about Picross with somebody.
I love it.
These guys hate Picross for some reason, and they hate me for liking it.
Is this true?
100%.
Awesome.
Well, that's great. There it is. That's our show. Thank you so much, Amanda Bird, for coming on, for talking to us about fishing games. That was a great idea.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for entertaining my random idea.
Yeah,
great
I'm
idea.
glad we did. Yeah.
And thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. If you're looking for me online, I am PDYX most places.
I'm on Twitter, Matthew, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Amanda? Where can people find you?
Just on Facebook as Amanda Kate Bird.
There you go. If you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Super Switch Headz on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Switch Headz on Twitter. Make sure you check out our Discord. It's always popping off. I think now more than ever. I think we've hit like the critical point of members of the channel where it's just, there's always discussion happening. There's always fun stuff going on. And then our Facebook group as well, which is Switch Headz in all caps. You'll find lots of great memes, often from Amanda here.
That's where you'll find me mostly.
Yeah, the meme queen of Switch Headz. So make sure you check those out. It feels a little weird to say that we have played Disney Tsum Tsum Festival. We won't be saying that at the end of every single episode, but if you want to hear our impressions of it, listen to episode 84. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this episode on fishing in games. That was such a blast. I was so glad that we did that. We'll be back next week with an all brand new episode, which we're figuring out after the show tonight.
Maybe you just work your way through the worldwide classics in games each episode.
Right. Yeah. How many video games have Mancala in them? That's my question. But other than that, folks, stay safe out there. There's still a pandemic on. Continue to wash your hands. Continue to wear a mask. Make sure you vote. We are so close to this election, and the world is falling apart. So do your part and get shit back on track. We love you guys very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.